Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be going over Goml 2023. This is the final super major of the ranking season, and this event is insanely stacked. For our top 16 seeds, you're going to have Meister, Jackal, Big D, Apollo Kage in 13th, Zomba, Dabuz, Kurama, and Onin in 9th. In 7th, you're going to have Shutone and Kameme. 5th, Sonics and Riddles. 4th, MK Leo. 3rd, Light. 2nd, Tweak. And winning the entire thing, or projected to win the entire thing, is Spargo. And I should note as well that both Shutone and Onin are DQing for this event, so we are going to be playing around that, but let's get right into it. So there are 4 bracket paths that lead to the top 32, and we're going to be taking a look at least one player from all of those paths, starting off with Rox. Now, his first opponent is against Dark Wizzy, which I would favor him in, honestly. Rox is an insanely talented player. He is one of Mexico's hidden bosses, one of their many hidden bosses, and we don't really get to see him travel. I believe this is his first Ultimate Tournament traveling abroad. At least it's his first Ultimate Tournament traveling abroad in recent history, so I really hope he's able to perform here. Again, I think he can get the upset over Dark Wizzy. Then he would go into Spargo, which isn't a great job because, you know, it's Spargo, but to be fair, you're going to have Rox on the Sheik, and that's probably Cloud's worst matchup. You had Void earlier on in the year being able to take a set off Spargo as well, so if this matchup does actually happen, I imagine that Spargo would probably go Aegis, but being able to push someone off of their comfort character is always nice, though Aegis is definitely still a comfort character for Spargo, like a really strong secondary, so it's not going to be easy for Rox, but I don't think it's necessarily impossible like it would be for most players. And then let's say he does go in and lose side of bracket. If he is able to beat Dark Wizzy, he would go up against Larry Lure, which I think is more favorable than if he doesn't beat Dark Wizzy, where he would go up against Quandale Dingalingleton, which I think is a very rough matchup for Sheik. But based off Rox's matchup chart, he actually thinks it's pretty good. So you know what? I believe in Rox to get the upset over Quandale Dingalingleton and Larry Lure and Dark Wizzy and Spargo. I have a lot in faith as Rox's player. I think he's absolutely incredible, and I really hope he's able to prove in this event. On to the next part of the bracket, the player I want to talk about here is going to be Cosmos. Now, I know he's been underperforming as of late. His results haven't been looking super great. He's also maybe picking up a different character for this tournament. He may be playing Inkling, which honestly is super hype at this tournament, but I know at one point he was trying to pick up Joker. He could still be doing that. He's trying to drop Aegis. I know that for a fact, but if he plays Aegis at this tournament, I think he could do very well, or at least overperform his seed, because he's supposed to go against Yoda Cage for his first matchup, and even though he lost to Lucky last weekend, the low tiers haven't been great for him. I would still definitely favor him there. Then he would go into Big D. The last time he played Big D was at Goml, and Big D did take it, but that matchup is so bad for Ice Climbers. All Cosmos has to do is watch Big D versus Shutone, and all Shutone does in that set is side B with Aegis, or side B with Pyra, and he just wins. It is such a bad Ice Climber matchup. And also, I just got to give a shout out to Big D here, because his bracket is potentially the worst bracket I've ever seen. He has to play a Snake player, and then he has to play an Aegis player, then he has to play MK Leo, which is either Aegis or Byleth, and it's also MK Leo. And then after that, if he gets that upset on one of the best players in the world, also a team kill, he would go against either Sonics or Dabuz, or Ouch, potentially, if Dabuz gets upset by Ouch, which is something that could happen, but playing Dabuz for your first time is a really tricky thing. But also, let's go Ouch. So regardless, Big D, one of the worst brackets I've ever seen in Smash Ultimate, and I think Cosmos is going to take advantage of that. I think he could beat Grave as well. Cosmos, again, I think he is a really good player. I just think he's lost a little bit of confidence in himself. He needs to get his groove back, and Goml's the tournament where he's going to do it. In the next part of the bracket, the player that I'm going to favor to make the upsets is going to be Tilde, and technically there won't be any upsets made because he is supposed to go against Shutone, who is DQing from the bracket, so he's likely going to go against Nair, and Nair plays Ridley and Hero, and Tilde plays Falco. Two amazing Falco matchups, so not super favorable to him there, but to be fair, Nair could have gotten Shutone, which would have been much worse. Also, shout out to Nair for going to this tournament. Like Rox, one of the hidden talents of Mexico, so hopefully he's able to perform. So even though it's a little bit lame, we're going with Tilde, but to be fair, that's probably the one that's going to happen. I think the second most likely option would be Lima over Jackal, just because Bayonetta stocks have been so high right now. I think Bayo players can literally walk on water. It seems like Tay can do nothing wrong, and if Lima is able to upset Jackal here, I wouldn't be surprised. And for our final quarter of the bracket, again, we got to go over the DQ. Odin's going to be DQing. Honestly, even if he wasn't, though, I probably still favor Anathema there because that guy is crazy good versus Steve. But now that Odin is DQing, it gives Demon a chance to go up against Anathema. As I said earlier, Bayo players, they can't do anything wrong right now. They're all walking on water. I think Bayo Rob is a very winnable matchup for Demon. They've never played before, so I think it's an upset that could happen, though you, of course, would still favor Anathema. You also have Ling Mr. R here, which is just a matchup that I'm very excited for. You have Mr. R, hasn't been doing amazing as of late, but he's still one of Europe's top talents, as well as playing Sheik, not a super common character in tournament. And you have Ling, who just came off his second place at Patrick, probably his best Smash Ultimate run to date. So very curious to see if he's able to bring that momentum into this tournament. But again, the player that I project to upset is going to be Anathema, because Onin isn't there. Anathema is also crazy. And here we are, the top 32. And we're not going to be looking at the losers bracket too much just because realistically, half of these matches aren't going to happen because there's going to be upsets. Though the winner side is a little bit more predictable, so we're going to be taking a look at that. Our first matchup being Spargo versus Apollo Kage. Now, you wouldn't favor Apollo Kage here, but you wouldn't favor him versus Shutone or Gluttony or MKLeo, players that he has all upset in the past. He's beaten some of the best in the world. Spargo is no exception to the Apollo Kage curse, so you're not going to favor AK here. You're probably going to put your chips on Spargo, but you can never really count out the best snake in the world. Then you're going to have Kameme versus Zomba. Now, this one I would favor Kameme just because I think the matchup's good for Sora. The record is in his favor too, although they haven't played in a couple months. I think it's been almost a year now, and Zomba has been leveling up massively as of late. But to be fair, Kameme is also back on his A game as well, so I don't really know how that's going to go. I would guess Kameme just because, again, matchup's good, and the past match was good for him, but it's going to be a slobber knocker of a set. I can guarantee you that. Then you have MKLeo Big D. As I said earlier on, really tough match for Big D. He's going to go against either the Aegis or the Byleth. Both of those Leo should absolutely destroy him, but to be fair, Big D has beaten some of the hardest matchups in the world before. I mean, he's beaten Akala in Ice Climber Steve. That's probably the hardest matchup that anyone's ever won in the world, so if anyone can make the upset, it would be Big D, but on paper, you have to go with Leo here. Our next matchup is Sonics versus Dabuz, and I'm going to go with the upset here and say that Dabuz does take it. And the reason is, he did win their last two encounters. Granted, they haven't played in a very long time, but also, Dabuz has just been on his A game as late. Feels like he is back to full form. He's been absolutely farming these events. Sonics as well does have a little bit of an underperformance at Crown, but to be fair, he did bounce back immediately at Wave Dash, so maybe not as one-sided as I imagined, but I think Dabuz is going to take that set. Then you're going to have Tweak versus Jacko. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because these guys are practice partners. They have a lot of reps in tournament and way more reps out of tournament, so they know each other very well. And when you know someone that well in tournament, things can get a little bit crazy. So even though the record is in Tweak's favor, and I am going to go with him to win the set, it could be a crazy one. It really is hard to guess because they played against each other so much. It's less character versus character and way more player versus player. So regardless of how that goes, it's going to be a banger. Then you're going to have Kurama versus Tilde because you are going to have Shutone DQing. And if it was Kurama Shutone, I'd super go Kurama there. And for Kurama Tilde, I am still going to favor Kurama because he's been looking exceptional as of late. But to be fair, the events that Tilde has been going to, he's been placing pretty well. He's been playing pretty well, still looking super stylish, but both those players, they hit you incredibly hard. They have amazing neutral, like some of the best footsies in the entire game smash, all between Tilde and Kurama, so it's kind of tough to predict how it's going to go, but I'm just going to go with the seeding here and say that Kurama takes it. Our next matchup is Meister versus Light, and this is a bit of an interesting one because I think if both players are playing 1000%, then Light would probably take it because even though it is a very bad match for Fox, Light's had a lot of success with him in the past. He plays it very well and he clearly knows how to deal with Meister as a player, but the way that Meister's been playing as of late, I'm going to predict him to take this set. I mean, he has just been looking phenomenal. To be fair though, he did underperform at Crown, didn't look super good there, but I'm going to say that was a one-off because everything before that, I mean, Collision, Battle WC, Low Tide, he's been popping off super hard, so I'm going to say that he gets the upset over Light here. And then our final matchup would be Riddles versus Anathema because again, Onan is going to be DQing, and Riddles and Anathema, they played twice. It was over a year ago, their last encounter, but Riddles did win both of them, and he won one of the sets with Kazuya and one of the sets with Terry, which just gives me a lot of confidence because both of his characters are on the table. So I am going to be going with Riddles there, but Anathema is a player that is really, really scary. I mean, when a raw player is killing you at 0% off gyro combos, you can never really count them out of a set. And for our top 8 qualifiers, our first one is going to be Spargo versus Kameme, and I'm going to go with Spargo here just because I think he's going to be playing really well this weekend. I can't imagine Spargo has not been grinding super hard after his underperformance at Crown, and if he has any shot at being the best player in the world, he pretty much has to win Goml. So I think he's going to be playing on his A game this weekend, but that pressure also may get to him, and Kameme is a player that will abuse that pressure super hard. This is also Spargo's first time playing a Sora of this caliber. Kameme is also incredibly cracked at this game, so it could go his way, but I'm going to assume that Spargo is playing on fire this weekend and he takes that set. Then you're going to have MKLeo versus Sonics or Dabuz, as I predicted. Either way, I think Leo's favorite here. Leo has one of the best ultimate brackets of all time. It's actually insane how good his bracket is up until the top 8 because the matches for him are just incredible. I mean, last weekend at Wave Dash, or not last weekend at Wave Dash, but at Wave Dash, he was able to double eliminate Sonics with his Corrin, so he might not even need to bring out the Aegis. And for Dabuz, I mean, that's probably MKLeo's favorite matchup in bracket. He has a very good record for Dabuz, so I'm going to favor Leo there. Next up is going to be Tweak versus Kurama. Now, the last time that these guys played was going to be at Port Priority, and Kurama got washed in the first set of Grand Finals, but the second set was very competitive between the two players, so I am going to be going with Tweak here just because history is on his side. And also, Tweak got 5th at Crown, and Kurama got 7th, and that's all the evidence I need to know that Tweak is guaranteed to win this set. Now, of course, there's a little bit more ambiguity than that, but regardless of how it goes, it's going to be an absolute banger because that Port Priority set was super fire, and our final set to get into top 8 through the winner's side is going to be Meister versus Riddles. Now, it's a 3-0 record in Riddles' favor, but to be fair, haven't played since LSI, I believe, and Meister has been doing incredible as of late, but so has Riddles. I mean, that loser's run at CEO, he looked ferocious. He did not care. He was throwing out options, and 90% of them are working, so I'm going to be going with Riddles here, but as I said, 30 times in this video, and I'll say it 30 times again, Meister has been on his A game as of late, and I definitely think if he's going to beat Riddles, this would be the time. Now, here we are in the losers part of the bracket, and it's a little bit more complicated because there are a couple DQs as well as upsets that we've already predicted, so we're just going to go one by one. For this part of the bracket, the player that I predict to make it through is going to be Light, and here's how that's going to work, because I have Meister beating Light, so he would fall to here. He should beat Siski. Tilde would potentially be a very tough opponent for Light because Onen's not going to be there, but I also don't think that Tilde is going to be in this part of the bracket because I believe he's going to go into the winner's side where Shutone should be, so Light doesn't have to worry about him. Whoever it is here, you would probably favor Light, and then he would go into either Sonics or Dabuz because, again, I don't really think MKLeo is going to lose that matchup, and those are probably two of the best matchups, if not the best matchups that Light could get in the loser side, in the winner side, at any point in the bracket. He does amazing versus both Sonics and Dabuz, so I think Light is going to be making through this section of the top 8. Next up, we have the Kameme part of the bracket, and regardless of who he gets here, it could be Kurama, it could be Jackal, it could be Tilde, because again, Shutone is going to be DQing, so it's probably going to be Kurama and Tilde there, so whoever loses that has to go into Jackal. Whoever wins that goes to Kameme. I think literally whoever it is, I would favor Kameme against, because not only has he been looking incredible as of late, like top 10 in the world incredible, but he's going to be playing Sora, a fairly uncommon character, but unlike most uncommon characters that are usually bad, this one's like top 10 in the game. He's playing one of the best characters in the game, and nobody knows how to fight against it. That sounds like such a good thing for me. I'm going to be guessing Kameme wins here, but to be fair, Jackal has looked amazing recently. Like that run at Crown, incredible. Tilde has been recently going more events. He's been looking really good. Kurama, if he ends up losing to Tilde, has been looking really good. All of these players are playing at their best right now, but regardless of that, I'm still going to favor Kameme because that Sora, the Sora is just too good. Next up, we have the Meister chunk of the bracket because I do have him losing to Riddles for top 8, and it's a really tough lower side for Meister because he's either going against the loser of Dabuz Sonics, who he is 0-3 versus Sonics and 0-5 versus Dabuz, or Big D, who he has never beaten before. Granted, they've only played once, but it did go to Big D's favor, so he is definitely hoping for either a Lima or a Quandale Dinglingleton upset, but realistically, I imagine Sonics is going to be the player getting to this loser's ninth area, and based off the records pre-quarantine, you're definitely going to go with Sonics there. And our final matchup for top 8 is going to be Kurama versus Zamba because, again, you have Kurama having the Shutone path. And the reason I'm so confident it's going to be Zamba is because he either has to go against Apollo Kage, who he has a 5-0 record against, or MK Big Boss, who he absolutely thrashed in the Rob Ditto at Battle of BC. Honestly, if someone were to upset Zamba here, I'd guess Ouch because I believe in him to not only make the loser run, but to also beat Zamba. Let's go Ouch. But regardless, we're just going to say it's Zamba and Kurama in this qualifier. And I am going to go with Zamba here. Even though Kurama has won their last encounter, it's 1-1 total. The last time they played was that major upset. And I mean, I've said it a million times before. Zamba has been playing miraculously these last couple months. Major upset was 4 months ago. And in those 4 months, Zamba has turned into like a different caliber of player. And also, Zamba's got to keep his streak alive. He's on 1 major win in a row right now. He's got to keep it to 2. And I don't think that Kurama's going to be able to stop him. And here we are, the top 8. And the way that we're going to be doing this is we're going to be taking a look at the top 8 that I made, and we're going to be taking a look at the top 8 that the seeders have made, and we're going to be predicting how both of those go, starting off with my top 8 that I made with y'all. Our first matchup being Spargo versus Leo. Also, before I forget to mention it, this little template here was made by the lovely iCookieMonsters. Their stuff will be down below if you want to make similar brackets to this, but first matchup is going to be MK Leo versus Spargo, and I'm going to go with Leo here just because he was able to reverse the realm at Crown with the Joker. Now, I imagine that Spargo has been grinding that matchup super hard to ensure that never happens again. I think the first time it happens, though, I think Leo's going to be able to win it, but I honestly, by game 1, we'll be able to tell who's going to be winning this set. Has Spargo figured out the Joker, or has he not? Regardless of how it goes, It's going to be an absolute banger, but I'm going to go with Leo winning it there. Then you have Tweak versus Riddles. Now, Tweak, he's been winning it in more recent time, but Riddles has been able to beat Tweak in the past, so if he got that upset, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world to me, but I am still going to go with Tweak there. Then in the loser side of bracket, you have Light versus Kameme. Now, Light is actually pretty good versus Sora. The only time he's played Kameme when he was playing Sora was in, I believe, the grand finals of Glitch, where Light did end up taking it, so I imagine it goes his way again. Then you have Sonics versus Zomba. Now, Zomba has been able to beat Sonics in the past. When he's playing the best of his best, LSI, Crown are the 2 wins that he has on. He was playing amazing at both of those tournaments. If he's playing like this at Goml, he can get the upset, but a majority of the time, it is going to be going into Sonic's favor because it is just a really good matchup for him. Next up is going to be Spargo versus Light, and the only reason that I have Spargo over Light here is this is one of the most coin flippy matchups in Smash Ultimate, and the last time it happened, you had Light winning it, so if it was heads last time, it's bound to be tails this time, and that is all the logic I will be using there. Then you will have Riddles versus Sonic, and like I said earlier with Zomba, most of the time it's going to be going into Sonic's favor. When Riddles is playing really well, specifically if Riddles is playing Terry, I could see him taking this, but if it's Kazuya or if Riddles isn't at like 100%, I think Sonic is probably going to take that. Then you'll have Spargo versus Sonic. I imagine Spargo just goes Aegis here and has success in the matchup like he normally does. And this was kind of already spoiled, but I do have Tweak over MKLeo, and that's just because he's won all the recent encounters as well as Diddy Kong, pretty much hard countering every single character that MKLeo plays. So maybe he's been cooking up something new. Maybe one of his new characters, he's been super grinding the Diddy Kong matchup. Maybe the Meta Knight's the thing that comes out and saves the day, but I would just imagine that Tweak is able to prevail there. Then in the loser side, I don't think Spargo figures out the Joker the first time. I don't think he gets it the second time, but the third time, that's the charm, and Spargo is able to upset MKLeo in the loser side. I guess it's not really an upset because he is the first seed, and I have our top 2 seeds meeting in the winner side of bracket. Shocker, I know, and I do have Tweak over Spargo. Now, the reason for that is manifesting, and that's all I really have to say. And here we have the projected bracket. You have Zomba replacing the DQ Shootout. And I'm not going to be re-explaining the matchups that I've already gone over, but the first new one is going to be Tweak versus Light. And normally this is a matchup that goes back and forth. But at Battle of BC, Tweak owned Light. Like, it was not close. So if Tweak is able to do that again, and honestly, I don't think he's going to be able to. There's not a world that it's going to be that one-sided, but I think mentally he's going to be feeling good going into this set. He did really well the last time they played, and I'm going to expect him to be able to take it there. Then in the loser side, you're going to have Kameme versus Sonics. Now, these guys have a 1-1 record total. The only time they played was at Glitch. It was one tournament. They traded sets there, and the only reason I'm going with Kameme here is because I think he will have a lot more experience versus Sonic than Sonic will have with Sora. Now, we could see Sonic still prevail because he is still an amazing player, and even if you don't know the matchup, you're still playing Sonic, a really good character, so it could go Sonic's way, but I'm going to go Kameme there. And then you have Zomba versus Riddles. Now, I'm going to say that Riddles wins this one. He usually wins this. You have Zomba taking sets in the past, and to be fair, these guys haven't played in a very long time, and Zomba's leveled up massively. We all get it, but usually it is going into Riddles' favor, and I expect it to do that here. Next up, we're going to have Spargo versus Kameme, and I want to use this rematch for an opportunity to talk about something that I just forgot to mention the first time they played, and that is going to be that Kameme has a secondary Sheik, more of a tertiary Sheik, so I don't even know if it'll come out, but as I said earlier on, Sheik is a very bad matchup for Cloud, so this could potentially be a counter-picking war. We could see maybe Sheik Cloud game 1, then we see Sheik Aegis, then we see Aegis Sora. That set could definitely go like that. It can also go like that in the winner set. I just kind of forgot to mention it, but I would still favor Spargo here, but I think it could be way more of a banger than I actually hyped it up to be. Then you would have Light versus Riddles. Now, these guys actually haven't played in 2022, but most of the time in the past, it was going in Light's favor, so I'm just going to guess that it does that here. Already talked about Spargo Light, and then Spargo the third time's the charm on MKLeo, and just to prove that I'm not biased, in the projected seeded bracket, I do have Spargo winning it. So if you see this exact top 8, just know that a Tweak win's coming. But if the bracket goes more as expected, you're going to have Spargo taking it. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If there's any player that I left out at any point in this video, and there probably was because we have a ton of top talent coming to Goml, please just let me know down below, and I'll be sure to tell you how I think they'll do. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Sports been absolutely unreal lately. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye. Also, sub.